For most of my life, I have wanted to follow in my mother's footsteps and become a doctor. That is until I changed my mind and said I wanted to be a lawyer, and then a social worker, and then an actor. Every parent's dream, right? I've grown up in a very sciencey house, the point where I was named after my mom's favorite medical intern, so really no pressure. But because everyone loves some good irony, I've always been drawn to the humanities. Theater, history, English, you name it, I loved it. But I've always been encouraged to pursue these things as hobbies and to take STEM related subjects more seriously. In a 2020 study done by Mark J. Jodowski, he found that less than 10% of all degrees earned are humanities majors. I've always been pushed away from the humanities, and it seems that many other people have been as well. The current mindset in our school systems to prioritize some subjects above others is incredibly damaging not only to our high school students but also to them as they go into college. Today, we can learn about the norm to sacrifice passion in exchange for subjects we don't care about, what this does to our high school students, and how we can start working to make our school systems focused on what they should be prioritizing: our students' happiness. Now, this decline is just simply representative of the fact that many students are pushed away from humanities fields in exchange for subjects that are labeled as more beneficial. Not only does this cause dissatisfaction in the present, but a lifelong feeling of dissatisfaction in the future that results from being told from a young age to not do certain things. I'll give you an example. I was talking to my dad, and I told him that I had won a national contest for screenwriting, and because of that, I was going to be entered into something bigger. To which he promptly responded, "It's too bad you can't put it on your high school applications." Gotta say, my love of writing really just felt truly supported in that moment. And while I know he meant well, this proves in a number of ways to carry on into the future and lead to students majoring in college in things that they aren't necessarily passionate about. A survey from Best Colleges in 2022 reported that of college graduates who want to change their degree, 26% would wish to change it to something that they were more passionate about. This number is much higher than it should be, as over a fourth of college students who want to change their major did it because they majored in something they ended up not being passionate about. Now, I've known some of the most passionate students who start to harbor feelings of negativity towards school simply because they are constantly pushed away from the subjects they actually like doing. A study from Yale reports that 3/4 of high school students do have negative feelings associated with school, and this is simply because constantly in our school systems we discourage students from doing what they actually love in exchange for things that are simply we call more beneficial, when in reality there are many of people who do in humanities subjects who do well in these fields and thrive in them. And I know this because it might seem that it's not a big deal to stop students from doing fields that aren't as important. But in actuality, these fields that students are discouraged from doing end up being just as important as the ones that they are encouraged to do. Take film and music, for example, both of which are one-way tickets to get your college counselor to give you the classic, "Oh, you want to do that? Okay, well, that's interesting." Yeah. Well, what these counselors don't know is that film and music have remained in our minds for generations and will continue to do so for generations into the future. Particularly film, the images conjured up have remained in people's minds ever since they first saw them in the cinema. Picture this with me, and if you can, you're proving my point. Remember in Titanic when Jack and Rose stand on the bow of the ship with Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On" swelling as they stand looking at the sunset? That image is going to remain with hundreds of people for hundreds of years. And something that STEM can never do is the fact that no matter how old humanities is, they still can remain fresh and hold up and challenge the works of today. Often, sometimes the older something is in humanities, the better it seems. Careers in the humanities are being treated as pipe dreams despite the fact that millions of people have successful careers in them. After all, there's got to be some way these magical moments are made for everyone to share. We encourage my students from a young age to be anything they want to be and try everything they can. And yet, as they get older, we do anything but. This leads to students having to squash down their dreams in order to please a system that is essentially supposed to be all about helping them. A study from Jessica Bryant, a professional journalist, reported that 56% of high school students feel pressure to make decisions about their future before they are ready. Because of the things that we say in our counseling offices, in our teachers' lounges, and in our houses, students are being led to believe that they can't do the things that they want to do. And because of this, not only are students in the present deprived of the experience to make things happen for other people, but in the future, the audiences and readers and listeners are going to be deprived of the magical moments that we were so privileged to grow up with. As time goes on, the less people will be experiencing things like the Titanic in theaters simply because we have pushed students away from them as they are labeled as too unrealistic. And the thing is that fixing this bias people have against the humanities comes from somewhere as simple as a house. One of the most common reasons people aren't going into this field is because of the belief that it yields worse or less job options, but in reality, this is not true to the point that it is amped up to be. In the humanities, a study reported that with people with degrees in humanities, bachelor's degrees, only in humanities, only 4% are unemployed, and that number drops to less than 3% when it comes to people with higher degrees. This is less people unemployed than in life science and social science majors. This is because the current poisoning we do against humanities is often just based on our own unrealistic experiences rather than the fact that millions of people have successful careers in the humanities and will continue to do so in the future. The jobs that are being labeled as unrealistic do have to have someone to do them after all. From a young age, we encourage students to do anything they want to be and be creative. Especially, we encourage thinking outside of the box. And yet, when they do this, we squash it without a true understanding of what they are trying to do. We all want our kids to be successful, but in the end, it boils down to, what do we choose to define as success? Do we define success as lots of money and a brilliant house, or we define success as doing something that we love? I believe that in a school environment, we can show students that one does not mean you can't have the other. Not every single artist is going to be starving, after all. We need to show students that their dreams are realistic to a point, and we can manage to do this while being encouraging at the same time, simply by presenting the facts. Show students exactly how realistic their dreams are and do it in an encouraging way. If we can find ways to show students the ways to achieve their dreams in maybe the arts or maybe in STEM, then they will have more opportunity to choose what they want to do simply because they've been presented with more choices. And I know that every single parent, teacher, and counselor wants nothing but the best for the students that they help. I also know that I want to take part in a field in which I am passionate in and which I know that I can leave a change. Let's start working on changing the way our school systems view things that aren't labeled as the most guaranteed success. And let's do this simply by, for example, in counseling offices, let more unorthodox dreams be met with an encouraging smile and research into how to make his dreams come true. Let's work on building people up rather than tearing them down, and working on being progressive instead of a deteriorating mindset. Because I know that when this happens, students will be more passionate about what they do. And it is passion that will lead our students into the world ready to leave an impact. But an impact in the way that they want to.